4.7, solving two-step inequalities. So same steps as we've been following. We're going to use PEMDAS in reverse to isolate the variable. So when I have more than one thing over here that I'm going to need to be getting rid of, I'm going to be using my PEMDAS in reverse. Let's grab a tool. I'll draw my wall to separate. I don't think I want yellow though. And my equal sign down here. I'm going to be using PEMDAS in reverse. That means we're getting rid of addition and subtraction to begin with. So plus 4, what I do on one side, I do on the other. Plus 4. Bring down the inequality sign as it's written. 11 plus 4 is 15. This cancels out, so I just have my 5x. Go ahead, draw your wall again to remind yourself what you do on one side, you do on the other. A coefficient with a variable means that I am multiplying. The inverse operation of multiplication is, of course, division. So we'll divide by 5. Divide by 5. Bring down your inequality sign as it is written because I have no negatives. These two cancel. X is greater than or equal to 3. And now we're going to graph that. Oh, I'm getting behind on my steps up here. So bring down the inequality sign, just like what we did. Make sure that's in your notes. And then finally, we're going to go ahead and graph our solution. Notice that my graph down here is not labeled. I'm just going to go ahead and write a 3 here. I'm going to determine what kind of dot will be open or closed. I can tell that by looking here. I used more ink. That means I'll have a closed dot. And then am I going left or right? Greater or less? X is greater than. When I'm looking at the relationship between that variable and my inequality sign wants to eat my x. That means I am greater than, we're going to the right. So we used more ink and greater than. Let's go ahead and try another one. We'll use our PEMDAS in reverse just like what we did. Draw your wall. This time I'm going to subtract 4 here. PEMDAS in reverse, subtract 4 here. 13 minus 4. What do you guys think? And I'm going to also bring down my inequality sign again, just as it's written. So 13 minus 4 we decided was 9. These cancel. So I have b over negative 3 is less than 9. Going to keep going here. Still have my wall to remind myself what I do on one side, I do on the other. I remember that if I have a b over negative 3, that's the same as negative 1/3 b, or a fraction. So I will multiply by the reciprocal, which is a negative 3 over 1. What I do on one side, I'll do on the other, times negative 3. Now I just multiplied by a negative number. When I do that, that means that I'm going to reverse the inequality sign. Really, really, really important. So my inequality sign has, whoops, that's not what I wanted. I'm flipping my inequality sign. It changed directions because I am multiplying by a negative number. So now we can go ahead and move on. These cancel, leaving just my b. 9 times negative 3 is a negative 27. Our last step is to graph the solution. Go ahead and write your negative 27 down here. Did I use more or less ink to determine if my circle is open or closed? And it looks like I used less ink. So I need an open circle. Negative 27 is not a part of the solution. Am I going left or right? Well, looking at my variable, my inequality wants to eat it. The mouth is facing towards it. So b is greater than, we're going to the right if we're greater than. Our final example, which graph represents the solution of this inequality? The only way to determine that is to go ahead and solve. I have a couple things I'm going to do. I know, first of all, that if I have a number up against a parenthesis, I'm going to multiply. Mama distributes. So I have a negative 7x. Distribute again because Mama distributes evenly to all the birdies in the nest. A negative 21 is less than or equal to 28. And I'll just continue to solve like I have. We'll draw our wall. PEMDAS in reverse, plus 21. Looks like I'll have to end up going through that, but that's okay. Plus 21. When you do the math, hopefully you get 49. And I am not flipping my inequality because I'm not multiplying or dividing, and so it stays the same here. Bring down your negative 7x. Our 21s cancel each other out. Okay, go ahead and draw your line to remind yourself that what I do on one side I do on the other. It must be balanced. This is multiplication. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. So we'll divide by a negative 7. The moment I divide by that negative 7, I know I'm flipping my inequality sign. So all of a sudden we're going this direction. I do the same thing over here. Divide by negative 7. These cancel each other out. X is greater than or equal to negative 7. Which graph is the same? All of my graphs are using more ink, aren't they? Every one of them is filled in right here. So any one of them could be correct. I'm looking at this. X is greater than, because my alligator mouth is going to, or towards my variable, so I know that I have to go to the right. X is greater than, and it's negative 7. Here it is. It looks like it's B. It couldn't be these two because they're less than. These two are going to the right, so they're greater than. It had to be one of the two. When I look down here, positive 7 is incorrect. X is greater than or equal to negative 7.